Hey there, it's me, Grace, sitting here with a story that's been burning in my chest for over a year now. I'm telling you this like I'm talking to a friend, maybe over coffee, maybe through a camera lens for some dramatic YouTube video. Either way, it's raw, it's real, and it's the kind of thing that makes you question family, trust, and just how far someone will go for something they think they deserve. So grab a seat, because this one's a roller coaster. It all started with a name, Leo, my son's name. I chose it to honor my childhood best friend, Leo Carter, who passed away in a car accident 2 years before my baby was born. He was the kind of friend who'd stay up all night helping you study, who'd make you laugh until your sides hurt. Naming my son after him felt like keeping a piece of him alive. Everyone at my baby shower in our little suburban Atlanta neighborhood thought it was beautiful. Everyone except my sister, Jessica. Picture this. I'm 8 months pregnant, waddling around my mom's backyard, surrounded by pastel balloons and a table full of cupcakes. Friends and family are cooing over tiny onesies, and then Jessica stands up, slams her hands on the table and yells, "That's my baby name!" The air yen still, all eyes on her. She's got this wild look, her face red as she rants about how she's loved Leonardo DiCaprio since she was a kid, how she's always planned to name her son Leo. I mean, Jessica wasn't even dating anyone, let alone pregnant, but she was acting like I'd stolen her whole future. My husband, Matt, tried to calm her down, saying, "Jess, you're not even expecting," but she wasn't hearing it. She called us traitors, stormed out, and shouted, "You'll see me in court." I thought she was just being dramatic. I was wrong. 2 days later, a letter arrived at our cozy little ranch house. It was from Jessica, demanding I change my baby's name within 24 hours or face consequences. I laughed it off at first. Who threatens legal action over a name? But my family wasn't taking chances. We called an emergency meeting at Mom's house, sat Jessica down in the living room with its faded floral couch, and tried to reason with her. I explained why Leo meant so much to me, how it wasn't about some celebrity crush, but a tribute to someone I loved. Jessica's face was like a storm cloud, her voice sharp as she interrupted. "Your dead friend would get it. Naming my son Leo has been my dream since I was 10. Matt called in a lawyer friend who shut down her court threats. Turns out you can't sue over a baby name. Jessica was furious, her eyes wide, her voice shaking as she gave us an ultimatum. "Give me the name, or I'm done with this family." We didn't budge. Mom, Matt, and I all pointed to the door, calling her bluff. She stormed out, muttering, "Fine, keep your stupid name." We thought that was the end of it. 3 months of silence followed, and I let myself believe she'd moved on. I was so naive. Then came the day Leo was born. Labor Day, ironically. I was in the hospital mid-contraction when Jessica burst into the delivery room holding a teddy bear and shouting, "Mason's here!" The nurses froze. Matt looked at her like she'd lost her mind and asked, "What are you talking about?" Jessica grinned, rubbing her flat stomach, and said, "I'm pregnant too. You said I couldn't have the name because I wasn't pregnant, so I fixed that. Problem solved." I was in too much pain to process it, but the room felt like it was spinning. Security escorted her out while she screamed about fairness. An hour later, I held my beautiful Leo for the first time, his tiny fingers curling around mine, and I thought we were safe. But then a nurse came in, her face uneasy. "There's an issue with your paperwork," she said. "It lists the baby's name as Mason." My heart dropped. Matt stormed to the hospital office and found out Jessica had somehow accessed our records during my labor and changed Leo's name. The hospital fixed it, but the message was clear. Jessica wasn't done. She was obsessed. The next morning, as I was still recovering, my brother called. "Jessica's in the hospital," he said, his voice tight. "She's hurt bad." Apparently, she'd spent the entire day driving across Georgia, filing name claims at every courthouse she could find, trying to legally secure Leo for herself. She hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, and collapsed on the courthouse steps from dehydration and sunstroke. Worse, she'd been pregnant, just like she'd claimed, and the fall caused a miscarriage. When she woke up in the hospital, she called me, sobbing and screaming, "Leo was mine. You killed my baby by making me fight for him." Her words hit like a punch, but I hung up, shaking. I didn't know what to say. 3 weeks later, I was breastfeeding Leo when Matt's phone rang. It was Child Protective Services. Someone had reported us for abuse and neglect. The allegations were horrifying. Matt was supposedly violent toward Leo, citing a bar fight from when he was 17. My dad, who lived with us, was called a threat because of a false accusation from a student years ago that had been debunked. They even claimed our house was unsafe. Before we could process it, my neighbor texted me screenshots from our local Facebook group. Jessica had posted a long, tearful story about saving Leo from our abusive home, painting herself as a hero. CPS showed up 20 minutes later. I let them in, thinking our clean house and healthy baby would end this nightmare. They checked Leo's nursery, the stacks of diapers, his peaceful sleep. But then the caseworker saw my dad in the kitchen. "Is this the grandfather with the teaching scandal?" she asked, pulling out her paperwork. I explained the accusation was a lie, but her face had hardened. "With your husband's juvenile record in this, we have to follow protocol." I couldn't breathe as she took Leo from his crib and walked out saying, "Oh, he'll be with family. Your sister's prepared." Of course she was. Jessica had a nursery ready the day after my baby shower. Our lawyer warned us emergency custody hearings could take weeks, maybe months. In the meantime, Jessica had my son. She posted on Instagram, calling him my sweet Leo, showing off his new clothes and toys. I sat at home, pumping milk for a baby I couldn't hold, my freezer filling with bottles that felt like a cruel reminder of my empty arms. My neighbor brought over a casserole one day, whispering, "Jessica was here last week, asking about your routines. Your dad?" If I'd heard arguing. She'd been gathering ammo, building a case while pretending to be a concerned aunt. Matt's job took a hit too. His boss saw Jessica's posts, and even though he explained, the whispers started. His juvenile record, long buried, suddenly made him look dangerous. Mom visited Jessica and came back shaken. "She's calling him Leo. Won't let me hold him unless I do too. She says this was meant to be, that losing her baby was a sign he's hers." My body kept producing milk, but every pumping session was torture, a physical ache for my stolen child. I started documenting everything. Jessica's threats at the shower, her fake pregnancy announcement, her social media posts. Matt gathered screenshots of her bragging about her future son, Leo, from before he was even born. Dad, still reeling from the CPS visit, suggested moving out to help our case, but Matt shut that down. "We're not letting her tear us apart," he said. But doubt crept in at night. What if the system saw us as unfit because of old mistakes? One day I drove past Jessica's apartment, just needing to feel close to Leo. Her car wasn't there, and Mom said she'd taken him to a baby yoga class. I went to the studio and watched through the window, my heart breaking. There was my son, fussing in her arms, surrounded by moms who thought she was his mother. I wanted to scream, but I took photos instead. Evidence. Everything was evidence now. Our lawyer got us a hearing date 3 weeks out, but Jessica filed for temporary guardianship, claiming I had postpartum depression and lacked empathy because I hung up during her miscarriage. The lies piled up, and I threw my phone across the room, the nursery door rattling as it hit. I couldn't go in there anymore. Leo's scent lingered, and it hurt too much. Then a break. Jessica's night nanny Sarah contacted us through Mom. She'd kept notes about Jessica's rants, how she'd planned to take Leo since before her own pregnancy, even researching custody laws. But when the emergency review came, Sarah vanished, texting that she couldn't risk her career. Without her testimony, her notes were useless. Jessica spun it, posting about a disgruntled employee spreading lies, gaining more sympathy online. She started a blog, Protecting Leo, twisting our story into one where she was the savior. Local parenting groups ate it up, inviting her to speak. Friends we'd known for years started avoiding us. Matt lost his job when a client saw Jessica's posts. Dad was dropped from the substitute teaching list. I had panic attacks at the grocery store, feeling eyes on me, whispers following me down the aisles. 3 days before the hearing, Jessica called in a wellness check, claiming I'd made threats. Police showed up, asking about my mental health, our home, our lives. It was another mark against us, another piece of her narrative. I broke down that night, sobbing in Matt's arms. She's winning. She's taking everything. He held me tight, whispering, she's desperate. The truth will come out. The night before the hearing, I stood in Leo's nursery, promising him I'd fight with truth, not lies. At the hearing, Jessica showed up with supporters in Team Leo's safety t-shirts, turning our pain into a circus. She presented photos, reports, even a letter from a child psychologist claiming Leo was bonded to her. But our lawyer laid out our evidence. Her obsessive posts, her surveillance, mom's recordings of her calling herself mama. The supervisor's questions grew sharper, and Jessica's mask cracked. She admitted to getting pregnant, to claim the name, to coaching witnesses, to planting evidence. Her supporters left as her meltdown echoed through the walls. The supervisor revoked her custody, returned Leo to us that day, and referred her for a psychological evaluation. An hour later, I held my son again. He was bigger, more alert, but he settled against me like no time had passed. Matt and I cried, laughed, held each other. Leo was home. The aftermath wasn't easy. Leo's sleep was a mess from Jessica's chaotic care. Matt's new job had a brutal commute. Dad struggled with depression. Jessica left notes in our house during visits saying, he's mine. We changed locks, installed cameras, and got a restraining order. Her storage unit revealed years of obsessive planning, journals, vision boards, custody law articles. She'd moved to another state, still telling people she'd lost her son. Leo's first word was Dada. He crawled in the nursery Jessica called inadequate, took his first steps in our home. The scars remain, lost savings, damaged reputations, broken trust. But holding Leo, watching him grow, I know we won. He's my son, named for love, not obsession. And I'll never stop fighting for him. Thanks for listening. It's a wild story, right? If you're still here, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. Stay strong out there.